Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia, chapter 242. So, just kind of starting off, the first major thing we pretty much learned from the chapter is that the government is the one forcing these internships onto pretty much the students and to pretty much UA. At this point, that the internships aren't even like a choice anymore. The internships are like a mandatory thing that pretty much all students have to go through, and that in itself, it not only tells us everything we pretty much need to know in terms of how grave the situation has become, but it really shifts perspective in the sense where we realize that the internships themselves haven't even started, and basically already the purpose of the internships has shifted from being a learning experience to a full-blown military draft. I am not even kidding. That pretty much in its like just from that beginning bit of exposition. That immediately is the first thing that clicked in me, that the internships themselves have become a military draft. Like the government is just so frightened. Like the government is so frightened as to what the future of Hero Society holds, that they themselves are willing to do anything in order to churn out heroes as fast as humanly possible in order to protect the populace. And of course us as the reader, we've basically already been through that whole. We've already been through and seen what exactly the government and Hero Society has to be afraid of. Like literally, this League of Villains has grown monumentally stronger now, and has grown monumentally stronger in both influence and just numbers now. So in that sense, it makes sense. So we can pretty so. So it's one of those things where obviously we should probably be angry at the government for even resorting to these methods of something akin to a military draft, but at the same time you can't exactly fault them either, because it's the only way that they know in the immediate situation in order to bolster the protection of the citizens and all that. Which now it's and yeah, like the whole and the whole, which I guess and the whole, and I guess in a way you could argue that the whole internships themselves, that's essentially what they were before, was just this whole military draft. But pretty much now it's like, now the whole idea of the internships being a military draft isn't even being hidden anymore, and the students are, for lack of a better term, being recruited as soldiers, which is debatable if we even want to call them child soldiers because they're teenagers. But it with this whole thing of the internships being an extremely mandatory thing, the mandatory thing that's being requested by the government. That in it's an interesting it brings up an interesting topic of discussion of how the students they really don't have the students in this situation, even though the situation is growing so worse, that the students themselves, that they really don't even have the freedom of choice anymore. Like, the government is literally is taking the freedom of whether or not to do the internships or not. But yeah, their freedom of choice of whether or not to do the internships is being taken away with this. It's wow, yeah, it's kind of amazing how Horikoshi just managed to really kind of word that in a way where it's like, holy crap. Now the setting of the chapter is something I don't normally talk about, but I do have to mention it here because I was definitely thrown off, but also weirdly intrigued. But just the simple fact that Horikoshi chose the setting that Horikoshi chose for this chapter was to put it in a Christmas setting. I mean, we've seen basically downtime chapters before where the students can throw off the guise of being hero hopefuls and just be regular teens. But it's really one of those things where I ask why he chose to do Christmas chapter of all things. Now, he chose of all things to do a Christmas chapter now. We're over waiting for it a little later in the year, but hey, it still offered some it also offered a lot of nice interaction and a little interaction, and in a way, I suppose what we could view this as is as I said before, it's pretty much it's the UA students' last like from it's probably maybe a foreboding thing in the sense where it's the students' last chance in order to genuinely just be students almost, because as I said, it feels like the students are being thrown almost right directly into being heroes now or something like heroes now. So yeah, and Ochiko I think said it best already. But basically Santa Eri-chan is in a, like that whole reveal of basically Eddie like wearing a little Santa suit and basically being called like from Santa Eri-chan. That in a word, as Ochiko said, is too cute and absolutely adorable. Like Jesus, like Santa, like Eddie in a Santa costume. I dig that. I really freaking dig that. I don't, like I said, I don't throw these words around often, but that was just too damn adorable and too fucking cute too fucking cute for words. Like literally, there are rare times where I throw out the words like cute and adorable, but this is one of those times. Yeah, I will admit and yeah, like Eddie herself, she may be obviously she's pretty much a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina character, as we all know, but hey, this chapter just proves she can still be an extremely adorable ball of fluff. Yeah, what can I say about that? It's not Daddy-chan. Love it. Also, the other thing to note with Eri is that the horn on her head has gotten bigger, and of course Aizawa he responded that Eri is finally opening up. So honestly, it's just a nice little moment showing that Eri as a character has progressed. But I do wonder if it's also a warning of something in the future, like something else bad is gonna happen with her or something. I hope not, but. Yeah, I hope it was just a cute little moment of showing her progression, but we'll have to see. And yeah, let's talk about that ending, because first off, with the way Horikoshi had chosen to put emphasis on Bakugo and Izuku like having trouble finding internships, you could already tell he was building up to something, and yet somehow Todoroki's offer in terms of all three of them, like interning with Endeavor, still threw me off. Like when I was like, it's one of those things where I was reading the chapter and I was like, going, okay, what exactly are you building up here? What exactly are you building up with Horikoshi? And then bomb, and then boom, look, like Todoroki dropped the bomb and saying, hey, if you guys don't have anywhere to intern, you can always come over and intern with me and my father. It's like, holy shit. And it's one of those things where I didn't really even, it's one of those things for me where I didn't think about it at the time. But yeah, if there was ever a person that the disciples of All Might, if there's anyone that the disciples of All Might could potentially learn something from, it's his self-proclaimed like greatest rival. Like yeah, and Endeavor before taking All Might's place was the number 2 hero back in the day. So obviously he's definitely got a lot to teach. He's got a lot to teach both Izuku and Bakugo, and honestly, Izuku especially, I'm really interested to see what kind of tips and tricks he can pretty much learn from. He can learn from exactly because yeah, with basically One for All like continuing to develop, there could be something useful that Izuku could learn in terms of controlling that new power, I guess, for sure. Now, the other thing about this too is that I feel that with this setup of Izuku like from just learning from from just learning from Endeavor, I feel the other interesting thing about this that could possibly happen is that I feel this is probably a good opportunity in order for Todoroki to finally learn the truth about One for All. I mean, when you look back on it, like Todoroki has already made made just so many well-educated guesses when it comes to Izuku's quirk that at this point, like I'm thinking that Horikoshi, it's best if Horikoshi just kind of lay all the cards on the table and just have Todoroki just kind of just learn the truth at this point, or at the very least use this next like upcoming arc as a means in order to lead up to the Izuku and All Might like from sharing the secret with Todoroki. Although in either case, if either of these are the case, it does beg the question if Endeavor is gonna be let in on the secret as well. I mean, because Endeavor he might be a little rougher on the edges, but he isn't dumb either, and I think there's a chance he could probably clue in on this as well at some point. And it'll be interesting to see what his response is going to be if I'm interested in seeing what Todoroki might have to say, but it'll be really interesting to see what'll happen if Prince Endeavor learns the truth of One for All. The other thing that this whole opportunity with Bakugo and Izuku from just going to going and interning with Endeavor is that the chapter itself, it wasn't subtle in showing us that even though he basically hides it well, Bakugo does in fact and still does have a level of respect for his respect for like best genius, and Bakugo himself, as we see, he is kind of curious about what happened to him. So even though Bakugo's face at the end of the chapter was apprehensive, I feel one of the driving story points of this internship now is going to be Bakugo just trying to figure out what happened to Best Jeanist, and working alongside Endeavor is practically a guarantee that's going to happen, I think. Also, one final thing to talk about. It's not major or anything, but one little detail I thought was kind of cool about one tiny little detail in the chapter is that like midway through, I think chapter 12 or something it was, there was a little panel, just this tiny little square panel in the corner that basically showed Jiro's from singing assumingly in public. So that just one little scene too. It gives a nice little reminder that Jiro has overcome her fear of singing in public now too. So there's that. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Find me on Twitter, Facebook, and your Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.